And I hope everybody's there, because now I will start. The logic of the witch site is quite interesting. It keeps me entertained. It does sound credible in a way. When humans are frightened to hear that they've entered a ghost hotspot, they're likely to start yelling, "Ghost, ghost," at the drop of a hat. That's right. At a fundamental level, all phenomena are neutral, indifferent, and dull. If you want them to be viewed in a certain way, you must first create a suitable environment. If a person has charisma, people will interpret what they do in a positive way, even when they screw up. I see. I guess in that sense, the Beato's small efforts are misguided. If it was just the mansion's locks being undone, everything could be resolved by saying that someone forgot to lock up or that it was some kind of prank. However, the rumors of a witch wandering about the mansion night after night slowly began to take shape as the existence of the witch. An environment was established so that if anything strange happened in the mansion at night, it would all be viewed as the work of the witch. I get it. If you follow that reasoning to an extreme, then what you get is no different from a witch existing in the mansion at night. After the Beatos finished their mischief of unlocking and opening the window, they enjoyed the coolness of the wind and the brightness of the moon, then became gold butterflies and disappeared into the darkness. There was no way of knowing whether the window they had opened had actually been opened by them. The servants might have forgotten to lock up, or one of the family might have opened it after the servants had locked up and forgotten to shut it again, or maybe someone had played a prank. In the same way that none of those possibilities could be denied, it was also impossible to deny the possibility that a witch really had opened a window to enjoy the night breeze. A result without an observer can possess an endless number of ways in which it might have occurred. Humans who can't grasp anything more than a single possibility are unable to imagine anything. However, people who believe in the possibility of a witch can imagine that it was a witch's prank. When that happens, the scene of the Beatrice's prank that we have just seen is etched into the fragment as a fact. That's one of the foundations of magic, embellishing the process. With just a little magic, even a mass-produced stuffed animal can be reborn as a wonderful, unique stuffed animal filled with a mother's love. If you doubt it, it'll be burned by the anti-magic toxin. If you believe it, that magic will become the truth. Not all magic is bad. Maria Onechan was right. Good magic exists too. It may be necessary for a child of man to possess the power to repel evil magic. However, refusing to burn away and defile love-filled magic is part of how love in the human world works. Well, good magic is the only kind I can forgive. For all other kinds, the best remedy is to deny them and burn them away. A typical answer for a child of man. Getting back to the point, knowing this much, I guess this means that the ghost Beatrice, who was called the ruler of Rokkanjima's night, doesn't really exist. It's nothing more than a general term for any inexplicable occurrences that take place in the mansion after dark. In other words, Beatrice isn't the name of a person, it's the name of a phenomenon. If anything bizarre happens, it all becomes the work of the Golden Witch. That environment in which a witch could exist is what Beatrice is. That keeps building on itself until we reach 1986. This is the veil that the true culprit is hiding behind, and the person hiding behind it is, without a doubt, a human. Perhaps that holds true at this point in the witch's tale of the past. However, I doubt you can use that argument alone to fight all the way through 1986, don't you? Oh no, I almost forgot that she's here as well. Ridiculous. Wasn't it obviously because someone forgot to lock up? Well, you may say that, but this isn't just something that happened once or twice. In other words, you're a klutz, a fool, and a moron of a servant who forgot to check not just once or twice, but many times over, unlike me, the perfect madam. Shannon isn't the only one. The same window was always open to even when other servants did the rounds. Yeah, Mom even asked me if I'd ever left the window open in the hall at night. I had absolutely nothing to do with it, but she still got pissed. Sheesh. I'm sure Beatrice wanted to gaze at the moon. It's a bit creepy to have that happen over and over at the same window. And that time, when the kitchenware was piled up in the kitchen with a creepy magic circle scribbled there sounds even more freaky. Yes, they said it was an eerie magic circle drawn with something like blood. Ever since then, people have been scared to patrol the kitchen. About the case of the eerie magic circle in the kitchen, who witnessed that? Well, it wasn't me. I think I heard about it from a servant kid who quit. I wasn't on duty that day. So it's basically like this. Just like those exaggerated stories you hear about haunted locations all over the world, you servants like to have a little fun telling ghost stories about the nighttime mansion, right? You talk as though the witch exists and infect others with that belief. So all of the eerie things that are supposedly done by Beatrice are baseless rumors, which are either the result of coincidence, an accident, or something that someone fabricated for fun. Is that what you're trying to say? Exactly. Of course, there's no way Beatrice exists. Beatrice exists. I'm glad you understand so well, Peddler-san. There's probably some person by that name, or else multiple persons of a fixed or unfixed number who do things and attribute it to that name. However, this delusion of a golden witch Beatrice that we're all thinking of is completely impossible. Beatrice exists. I've met her. Oh, could you tell me about that in detail? I like to crush even the dreams of small children. You met Beatrice, and did she show you magic or something? I see her all the time. Every time I come to Okanjima, and she always shows me fun magic. Denying the existence of the witch would always have the immediate effect of infuriating Maria. However, Erika, who didn't know this trick to avoiding Maria's fury, plunged into it head-on. But no matter how Maria tried to sell the idea of Beatrice's existence, she stood no chance of defeating the ruthlessly intelligent Erika in an argument. George and Jessica hurriedly tried to calm Maria. I would rather have it next thing being Maria slapping and yelling at Erika. George and Jessica hurriedly tried to calm Maria down, but there could be no quelling her anger at this point. Good though. So she showed you magic. Could you explain in detail what kind of magic? She would always use magic to give me candy as a present. Beato can create candy with magic. She just took it out of her pocket, didn't she? No, she didn't. It was magic. It was incredible. Tons of candies poured out of an empty cup. Oh, wow, that's some awesome magic. That's right, that really would be magic. Yeah, it was magic. It really was empty. I checked inside it myself. Huh? What do you mean you checked inside it? Give it a rest, Erika-san. She's just a kid. Come to think of it, Erika-sama, would you like some more No, thank you. I'm having a seriously intellectual discussion over here, trying to trample over this child's dreams and all. You outsiders can stay out of this. You'll have to tell me in more detail, Maria-san. What do you mean when you say that you checked inside it? Fortunately, we have right here with us a teacup that has just been overturned and emptied. Come on, be my guest and reenact what happened then, okay? Let's see it, if you would. Let's see it. After holding the cup of black tea, which he had just overturned and was still dripping upside down over the table, Erika slammed it down hard and slid it over to Maria. Erika's eyes glowed repulsively like those of a snake about to snap up a frog. Those eyes were ice cold and had a madness in them that made one want to avert their gaze. On the other hand, Maria was glaring furiously, her whole body shaking uncontrollably in the greatest expression of anger that a human can manage. The look on her face was frightening, not at all what you'd expect from a 9-year-old girl. Stop it, both of you. She just pushed Shannon aside or what? Okay. Beatrice took the empty cup, and then she did this. She put it upside down on the table. Yeah, and then what? Did she lift it up right away and candies flowed out? Incredible, that really would be magic, right? It would be. Battler and the others tried to get between the two and calm them down, but it was no use. They violently pushed aside the others, and glaring at each other from so close that their foreheads banged together, they repeatedly slammed the upside-down cup on the table. The sound of their foreheads banging together and the cup being slapped down shattered the barrier between reality and illusion. Oh, damn. It is magic, it is magic. Beato used magic to make candies appear. Then why don't you reproduce it for us? Founder of Maria Saucier, Maria, the Witch of Origins. Lady Erika, this opponent is not worth your time. This battle is not worth fighting. Shut up, murder doll! Okay, how do you claim that the overturned cup was filled with candies? Just turning the cup over won't make candies come out, because you have to use magic. Beato can use magic because she's a witch. Oh yes, magic. She used magic. How did she use magic? Did she swing a magic wand and tap the cup to make candies pour out? No, that can't be it, right? Beato is a witch, so she uses magic. Magic happens when you say an incantation and cause a miracle. You can't use the magic that makes candy unless you say the incantation. Oh, sure, you understood. Good though, very good though. Let's see this incantation, let's see this magic. Come on, what kind of incantation would a witch use? What kind? Come, try and picture it. The inside of the cup is filled with candies. Try and picture such a wonder. Oh, and then what? Look, the inside of the cup is filled with candy. Maria grasped the overturned cup so tightly that it nearly cracked and slowly lifted it up. Then from the inside, several cute candies poured out. Maria looked at Erika with a full smile as if to say, that showed you. Good though. And this is what you'd like to call Beatrice's magic, is it? Glenner! Beat her to death! You know, you do know it's just a kid? As you wish. I won't let anyone deny Beatrice's magic, because magic is magic. Magic is impossible. You might be telling a lie about something that never happened. Repetition demanded. Failure to respond will be a violation of Nox's 7th. I'll respond. This is the truth. This is a story of something that really happened. This wouldn't have anything to do with the trick in the actual cup or table making. It's just a sleight of hand, right? That would be against the rules, wouldn't it? Hidden devices and tricks are in violation of Nox's 3rd. However, if and only if foreshadowing has been presented, these are permitted by Nox's 8th. Nox's 3rd prohibits hidden doors and devices that have no clues pointing towards them. However, by presenting foreshadowing and clues that point towards the existence of said devices, Nox's 8th allows them to be used. There were no tricks like that. It was just an ordinary table and an ordinary cup. So it was magic, not sleight of hand. Understood. By Nox's 9th, we acknowledge that Lady Maria witnessed magic. What was it, number 9? Oh, it's not here? Why is it not here? Damn, I can't go back to the main menu now for that. That's okay, whatever. That's right, with the 9th at least. Observers are always allowed to speak their personal opinions. I should have just clicked. Otherwise, mysteries where the culprit is seen dressed up as a woman and it's written "I saw a woman" would all be disqualified. Sure, that's fine. Claim that you saw magic all you want. All truth and nothing more than claims, so I'll make a different claim and see straight through yours to the truth. That's the detective's duty and where we shine the most. There's nothing to see through. This is magic. Since it is magic, only witches can use it, right? That's right, only witches can use it. So if a human like me could use it too, that will mean it isn't magic, right? You can't use it. Only Beato can use magic. Good dog. Look at that face. Yeah, the original is just as creepy. Then why don't I show you? I'll make candy appear from out of this empty cup. If you think you can, just try. Impossible, impossible, useless, useless. There's no way a human can do it. Then please, please, please just relax and watch. Here we have an empty cup. Is that okay? It is, isn't it? Then we turn it over on the table like this. Let it be known that this fight has no purpose. Yeah, I think Blender knows. Okay, can you say the incantation for creating candies? In fact, why don't we say it together? Come, try and picture it. The inside of the cup is filled with candy. Try and picture such a wonder. Stop. Maria-san, why did you close your eyes when you said the incantation? Why not witness the miracle of magic? Humans are polluted. by the anti-magic toxin. If a lowly human saw it, the miracle of magic would be wiped out of existence. That's why the rules say that lowly humans have to close their eyes when using magic. I see. Okay, I understand the protocol for humans to follow when magic is being used. In other words, not once have you ever witnessed the moment that magic happened. Isn't that right? Look, it's done now. Please try and lift up the cup, okay? After all, I've used magic to make candies appear. There's no way someone who makes fun of witches could use candy magic. Then if it actually does work, it'd be pretty amazing, huh? After glaring at Erika with the utmost of malice, Maria slowly stretched her hand out towards the overturned cup. There was no way that Erika, someone who made fun of witches like this, could ever use magic. There was no way that there'd be candy there. So how does it look inside? And there lay a single candy with a cute wrapper. See? Erika must be really popular in internet discussions too. Yeah, or just in general. This is magic, right? Erika smiled gently. A look of disbelieving shock rose to Maria's eyes, along with envy for this person who could use the same magic as Beato. You know, maybe she didn't fall from the boat. Maybe her parents just had enough of her. Erika, you can use magic too? See, it's magic, isn't it? What I did there? Yeah. So in other words, Erika smiled pleasantly. She and Maria had finally reached a deep understanding. Of course it isn't. Why do you had your eyes closed? I just lifted the cup up and tossed a candy in. You call that magic? It's just the third trick. This is my blue truth, as the detective. Now it's the witch of truth. Here's my red truth. Your so-called candy magic is nothing more than a sleight of hand. Just a sleight of hand that the fake witch called herself Beatrice or whatever, calling herself Beatrice or whatever, claimed was magic. I mean, seriously, did you really get fooled by such a stupid parlor trick? Any magic related by your perspective can't be trusted at all. Everything you ever thought was magic was just a trick that you didn't get. There's no way that was magic. There's no way magic exists. Huh? It might have been sleight of hand when you put candy in this cup, but that doesn't prove that Beatrice's magic was also sleight of hand. And you! However, you also can't prove that only magic could have done it, you rotten stuffed animal. Please allow me to speak. Know that this is a meaningless battle. You goddamn scraps of paper. Why do you have to butt in at the good part? That is enough. Lady Maria has been shown that the candy cup magic could possibly be a trick that she misunderstood to be magic. Therefore, her claim that it was magic is dismissed. However, it might really have been magic when Maria saw it. Just because it can be done by sleight of hand doesn't disprove magic, will you? Well done, Lady Erika. Congratulations on crushing Lady Maria's illusion of the witch, you heartless bastard. An illusion of the witch occurs when someone tries to force the acknowledgement of magic by claiming that a thing would be impossible without it. It's how witches launch an attack. If someone's able to successfully argue back and show that it would be possible without magic, the illusion of the witch is defeated and the witch must retreat. The magic Maria claimed to have seen could have been a trick, so it was unqualified to be acknowledged as magic. However, that was only the result of this battle. It was still too early to bring the fight into the domain of denying Beatrice the witch and the magic that Maria believed in. However, battles always end instantly when your opponent surrenders. Erika had wanted to hit Maria with everything at once, defiling the witch and magic she believed in, and crushing it without a fragment of compassion. Just one more step and I'd have been able to take a heart as innocent as the smooth sand just after a wave has pulled back and tear it to bits. Ah, what a shame. This isn't any fun anymore. Are you satisfied now? Ow! Erika grumpily punched Leonard's arm that had been restraining her. However, the cold, hard, marble-like arm just made Erika's hand hurt. It's diplomatic immunity. This battle is over, adieu. Allow me to speak. Diplomatic immunity accepted. Know that this fight is childish. Did you say something? She did not. Let us withdraw. Lady Maria is no enemy of yours, Lady Erika. There is no need to pay any attention to small fry such as this. Huh? You're right. How childish of me tearing a kid's dreams apart. I'm really sorry, okay? Yeah, I'm sure you are. I apologize for my momentary lack of elegance. Let's go. Erika and the others turned their backs on Maria, who was still crouching down limply. However, as detectives in famous mysteries have always done in the past, Erika clapped her hands, stopped and turned around. Oh, that's right. What do you think? Simply by the existence of the overturned cup, this level of reasoning was possible for... I don't know, Erika, yeah. What do you think, everyone? Erika's merciless words gouged themselves into Maria's heart once more. Erika left, leaving an evil laugh behind her. After bowing to Maria and Sakutaro, Glenner left too. Gertrude and Cornelia followed suit. After that, only Maria and Sakutaro were left in the lonely Golden Land, where they committed suicide by hanging themselves. No! Adieu! Beto is a witch. Adieu! Beto is a witch. It was magic. It was magic. It was magic. Beto used magic to give you candy. You don't need to doubt that. Adieu! Please believe in Beto. You know that magic can't bear fruit unless you believe. Surrounded by an ice-cold drizzle that had started falling at some point, Maria cried quietly. Trying to at least protect her from the rain, Sakutaro used his large sleeves to cover Maria's head and stayed there by her side. Okay, let's go, Maria. Let's play cards together in the room upstairs. Erika-san, as an adult, I can't say I was very impressed by that conversation just now. That is a very diplomatic way of saying you are a childish and heartless bastard. My apologies. I'm still just a kid, after all. After seeing that wonderful candy magic brutally insulted by Erika, Maria had been crying non-stop. I started noticing it as soon as the after-dinner quiz party, but your personality really is screwed up. Do you think this is fun? Do you like tearing a little kid's dreams apart? But please stop, Elder-sama. Please, for my sake, don't push any further here. Please. Shannon, who had been looking flustered, bowed her head deeply and implored Bella to stop. George, who didn't want Shannon pressured, fell in line. Let's go. We'll spend this year in the cousin room again. We can watch TV and play cards. I have heard that Erika-san has her own room. Shannon, please guide her there. Yeah, they're just politely telling her to fuck off and not hang out with them anymore. Oh, no need to bother yet. I'll relax down here for a little while longer. I want to savor it a bit. What the hell are you trying to savor? Huh? Bella and the others could no longer hide their irritation. They had no obligation to entertain their uninvited guests any further than this. Erika herself understood perfectly well that no place would welcome a detective. Well, I wouldn't put it that way. I'm pretty sure there are lots of places that will welcome a detective, but not if the detective is a gigantic douchebag. Bella and the others wanted to leave, and Erika wanted to stay. Neither had any desire to stop the other. Jessica urged Maria, who was still crying, to come along. Then Maria stopped and spun around. Got a problem? They do exist here, and they are humans who are practically lumps of the toxin and don't believe in magic. There are lots of boys like you in my class, and they don't believe in witches or magic or miracles or happiness. You can't become a witch if you let the toxin of people like that burn you to ashes. I may not look it, but I'm Beatrice's disciple. I'm the apprentice witch of origins. Maria, who had been crying quietly a second ago, seemed to have been transformed to an entirely different person. She laughed, no, cackled eerily. Bella's group stiffened up at this sudden change, but Erika was watching calmly. Then she smiled and gave a small nod in response. Good, though. You've got some guts. Good night, Miss Maria. Let's fight in a more challenging game next time. Sure, let's. It's a promise. You stop that too, Maria. Come on, let's go. What about you, Shannon Sean? Come with us if you want to play cards. Come on, join us for at least one round. It'll cheer you up. Then just for a bit. Shannon couldn't remain in this suffocating lounge any longer either. In part apologetic and in part trying to escape, she followed after Bella's group. After that, Erika was the only one left in the lounge. Still wearing a thin smile, she tapped a glass with her finger. There was a light ching, a surprisingly boring sound. Even so, Erika wore a thin smile as though pleased.
Oh, sorry to keep you waiting. I was just in the bath. Oh, where is everyone?
You just missed them. They went up to the second floor. I'm the one who called you here. I've heard that you know a lot about the story of Akujigishima and the tale of the Witch of the Forest.
Yes, well, it is a trivial story, but...
I don't mind in the slightest if it's trivial. Would you like a drink to follow your bath? Even I like to be helpful every now and then. Erika stood up, opened the refrigerator behind the counter, and put ice into the ice pail. No, not mackerel liquor. Huh, the time didn't change at all, huh? Erika-chan, huh? She's an odd kid. Somehow I just can't seem to get along well with the young kids these days. Hey, you're still pretty young yourself, George-san. I guess it's because I've always been the oldest of the cousins. It's always made me feel like I'm not one of the young ones anymore. George and Shannon could be seen standing in the rainy rose garden. Though the rain was still pouring down, there was hardly any wind at all. The scant protection provided by the arbor was more than enough to house the secret meeting between lovers. Following that fight with Erika, they had decided to play some cards for a change of pace. When that was over, Shannon had returned to the servant room, and shortly after that, George had left his room to meet with Shannon the time they had arranged. I think kids around Erika's son's age have a hard time getting along with themselves, more so than any other age. Yeah, that's true. Around that age, most kids are so determined to free themselves from the shell of childhood that they lash out in all directions with their beaks. When they do break out, they finally be free to stretch their wings and fly high. I was like that too. My old self, still trapped inside that shell, was a weak, deplorable person who I couldn't really respect. But that's not true. No, it's okay. I realized it myself. Back then, I might have been the oldest of the cousins, but I was still a lazy, hopeless person. And it wasn't just with the cousins. At home, at school, I was like that everywhere. I hated being like that. I wanted to break that shell and become a splendid adult, like a mother and father. But in the end, you did break out of that shell, George-sama. Every time I've met you these past few years, you've grown beyond recognition. Thank you. Did something cause you to make up your mind? To break out of my shell? Yes. I can't imagine that you grew so rapidly, like a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon, but just wandering around aimlessly. I thought there must have been some turning point that made you become so determined. I fell in love with you, and grew thanks to the power of love, is what I've told you so far. But the truth is, the turning point was a much more negative emotion. No way. It's hard to believe that someone who's always as bright and cheerful as you could have negative emotions. Well, my parents brought me up to treat women with care, and I thought that I'd manage to live my life that way. Yes, I think you're wonderful, a real gentleman. But I'm not, actually. Huh? I didn't know how to interact with the opposite sex. I deified them excessively, and though I always behaved in a gentlemanly ladies first kind of way, I was probably outright afraid of interacting with girls. Of course, George had wanted to be around girls as much as any healthy boy might. However, he didn't know how to interact with them. He wanted to act like a gentleman, to avoid being disliked by them, treating them with care. Of those feelings, only the words treat women with care took precedence, blossoming into a subconscious fear of women. You might call a man like that gentlemanly or a lazy bloomer. Ridiculous. I was just a coward. Because of that, I started to wonder why I couldn't get a girlfriend if I was so gentlemanly, and I eventually came to the conclusion that all the women in the world had no taste and started to hate all of them, selfishly. So you basically became one of those nice guys. That's what a truly pathetic man looks like. How many years ago was it when I noticed? Probably when I was in middle school. At the time I assumed that I was obviously the most gentlemanly of the cousins, so I would obviously be popular with women. Insult George. However, reality was very different. At school I was pretty much completely hopeless. Far from being a leader, I was a typical bullied kid who got pushed around by everyone. At the time I figured I was just a capable and adaptable man who could keep in perfect tune with his surroundings. How stupid. Sure, I might have gained some measure of crush from girls. However, not only was there no one who would become my girlfriend, there weren't even any girls I could call friends. Of course, I was a man who always stepped back for the sake of ladies first. Who would ever want to follow behind such a negative, unmotivated man? It's funny, I didn't even realize this and was convinced that I was an attractive guy. I can sort of understand how you felt. Just because someone puts in a lot of hard work to look attractive to the opposite sex, it doesn't necessarily work out as they plan. Oh? Has that happened to you too, Shannon? Of course. One time I wanted to catch a boy's eyes so much I tried to put on makeup, even though I didn't know how, and embarrassed myself. Kinda looked like the clown from It. I remember a lot of embarrassing failures. The person that made me finally get cover... Oh no, okay, it is him. The person that made me finally get over my conceit and open my eyes was you, Shannon. No, it was both of you. Are you talking to her tits now, or why do you... I'm sure he meant something else, but when he said that, I just kind of imagined his eyes would go slower, go down, and then he would talk to her breasts and say, no, it was both of you. Seriously though, what does he mean with both of you? What was the turning point for you, George, son? Envy, probably. That's unexpected. But envy over what? I saw you and Batlakun having a really good time talking. That made me envious. Me and Battler-sama? Shannon raced through her memories, trying to find a conversation that might have made George envious. It probably seemed trivial to you two, however it still made me envious. I don't want Bella to hear what I say next, no matter what. Can you promise me? Of course. It's going to be a shameful confession. Still, I want you to hear it. I want you to hear your answer tonight, only after I've told you about my bad sides as well. Okay, let me hear it. With a smile but a serious look in her eyes, Shannon nodded. Tonight, she knew what he was going to ask her tonight. George had the right to confess before asking that sacred question, and Shannon had the obligation to listen. Shannon understood this, so she listened quietly. So this is what a witch of theater-going peeps in on her during her spare time? Stories of love are precious in any age. I never tire of them. However, I do find that expression of virgin disgust on your face even more amusing. Featherine laughed quietly. Angie huffed and looked away, but she quickly realized that this would only entertain Featherine even more, so she tried to act unconcerned. Both Batlakun and Jessica-chan have always been spirited. No, phrasing it that way is just dodging the issue. Let me be frank. George looked up at where the moon should be, high above the rain clouds, and spoke. They were honest words, spoken simply from George's heart. For a long time back then, I thought of Batlakun and Jessica-chan as bad-mannered kids. Now let me be even more blunt. I thought that even the way they talked was vulgar. It's true. I don't mind if you hold me in contempt for that. I don't. People are allowed to think anything they want inside their hearts. In fact, I think you were all the more commendable for not letting it show on the outside. Thanks. I secretly looked down on those two. I was so conceited that I truly thought I was just overflowing with gentlemanly charm compared to them. I was at that age where having a girlfriend felt like a necessary condition for becoming a real man. I truly believed that no girl could fail to admire a gentleman who treated girls as well as I did. So, I really did assume that the girls I knew were attracted to me. I thought that Batlakun and Jessica-chan, who always joked around and spoke in a rude, vulgar fashion, would never be able to get a boyfriend or girlfriend. I might have used that argument to distract myself when I still couldn't get one myself. I was a fool. They weren't inferior to me at all. I was the inferior one, with my deification of the opposite sex and my fear, which I hid under the guise of ladies first. That's been Bella's and Jessica's personality from the beginning. True, they were rude and one couldn't have called them gentlemanly or ladylike. However, they did have the power to interact without worrying about gender. In fact, you might even call that their charm. I sort of understand. People like Oni-chan and Jessica Oni-chan can get along with anyone, whether that person is a boy or a girl. I hate to bring it up because of George Oni-chan, but I find people who act too overtly like a gentleman a bit creepy. It's like they're virgins trying too hard, or whatever. When dealing with strangers, people prefer for them to be harmless and boring. However, they only appreciate these qualities because such a person doesn't get in the way. No human would want to hang around with a boring person all the time. Of course, no idiot would want to be friends with an unmoving, unspeaking telephone pole. However, unmoving and unspeaking is exactly what you'd want from a telephone pole. That's it. It seems as though George finally discovered that he wouldn't be viewed as an attractive man no matter how superior he was, and that he had been treated like a telephone pole the whole time. Back then, my conceit was at its peak, so when everyone gathered at the family conference, I believed that I was the most attractive and that all the servant girls who played with us loved having me there. Yeah, they loved hanging you there. On that day, I finally realized how pathetic I was. Did I say something inconsiderate then? No, it's the opposite. You didn't say anything at all. My conceited delusion that I was the only one ever reflected in your eyes was crushed. Just when did it start? No, it must have started long before then. I only failed to notice because my eyes were clouded with conceit. One day I suddenly realized it. All of you were getting along with Batlakun and Jessica-chan far better than with me. Playing around and having a good time. Yes, those two whom I had looked down upon so much were radiating far more charm than I was. You really looked like you were enjoying yourself that day. The look on your face was far brighter than any you ever showed me. Sickening, isn't it? I just assumed that you liked me, and even had some childish fantasy that we might end up dating. I one-sidedly felt as though my girlfriend had been stolen from me and let myself feel hurt. I was such a pathetic man. That's when I finally realized how foolish I had been. George-sama. After that, stuff happened and Batlakun stopped coming to the family conferences, but I heard about him from time to time from Uncle Rudolph. He's a pretty funny guy. Even though he got in fights with Batlakun all the time, he always paid close attention to what his son was up to. That's true. He spoke to me about it as well. I think even Asumu-sama was exasperated by it. She thought all his popularity with the girls at school and the unceasing trouble this caused must have been because of Rudolph-sama's blood. And Jessica-chan too. I hear she built up a huge number of friends, both boys and girls, and that she was always right in the middle of things. When I talked with her myself, I could see that this was no exaggeration. This proved that the two I had looked down upon were much more attractive human beings than I was. At first I tried to imitate those two. It was pretty ridiculous. I thought that by joking around and speaking rudely, I could get the same charm they had. You did that? It's a bit hard to picture. It was miserable. I wish I could forget that time for the rest of my life. In any event, I quickly realized that I could never become truly attractive by imitating them like that. The reason I had no charm was because of my cowardice. Under the pretense of respecting people and acting to fit in with the general atmosphere, I was always running away. That's a funny impression you're doing there, Aaron. I resolved myself to overcome that flaw and be reborn. I finally understood the shell I was in, and I swore to break out of it. Every time my determination began to waver, I'd remember that day. That day I saw you two forget about me entirely and play around happily, and the fact that those eyes of yours, which I always assumed were attracted to me, never noticed me at all. I made an oath. This time I wanted to be the one who caught your attention for real, the one reflected in your eyes. That's actually the first thing I felt when I fell in love with you. Sounds like it was pretty complicated for you. On that day, my desire for revenge against the two of you had ignored me and played together. Hold on, what? My desire for revenge against the two of you who had ignored me and played together, no, against you alone, suddenly transformed into true love. However, I swear this to God, even though that was the reason I first started to take you seriously, there are no lies in the way I feel about you now. I swear to love you for all my life. I will not lie about that for anyone or anything. And I am prepared to take you as my wife, even if it means having the entire world as my enemy.
George's son.
That's the confession I wanted to make to you beforehand. Before now I've called you my first love. Love at first sight. That was a lie. It was only myself who's twisted... That doesn't matter. Shannon smiled, but she spoke forcefully enough to cut through George's words. Is there some rule saying that people can't get together just because they weren't each other's first love? Is it betrayal to forget the first person you fell in love with? Love isn't that simple. Well, it might be simple. After all, love is easy. At all times, whatever you feel now, only the honest feelings you feel now can tell you the right answer. So things of the past or how your relationship started aren't important at all. Then confessing to all that was wrong of me? No, I'm a bit glad to learn that even George's, who was always perfect at everything, has a human side to him. And I'm kind of glad that I'm the only person you've told this to. Thank you. I was only able to become who I am because of you. Me too. I am as I am because of you, George's son. So please tell me without holding back, what kind of a husband and wife will we be? And what kind of future will we build together? When I have you as my wife, I will become an even more accomplished businessman than my father. Isn't your father in debt right now? And after several challenges and adventures, I hope to find the limits of my potential. I want to reach that peak together with you. The view from there will be something no one can show you but me. It sounds fun. I'll be with you wherever you go. Unless you die tonight. Of course, it won't only be an adventure as a businessman. It will also be an adventure in bed. No, sorry. He didn't say that. I'd like to create many things that only a couple can make. Huh. And what could that be? Let's have some kids. Yes, my husband. I'd like 3 of them at the least. Wait, this is not McDonald's. You don't just order them. At least 1 boy and 1 girl. And what if all 3 are boys? Then the next one might be a girl. We can have a 4th one. It doesn't matter how many. Oh, you say that now. But wait until you have some. Let's enjoy the adventure of bringing them all together. And when those children eventually leave their nest, they'll make us some grandchildren. Before we know it, we'll reach a boisterous old age, surrounded by a whole crowd of kids and grandchildren. It sounds like fun. I wonder what kind of a grandpa you'll be. And I wonder what kind of a grandma you'll be. However, I will always keep loving you. And when we eventually pass away, surrounded by our vast family, our life will stretch behind us, unmatched by anyone else's. George didn't just talk about his love for the present. He swore to love her soul until the final moment when the lid of their coffins would be shut. Then George took a small box out of his pocket. Even without opening it, she knew what was inside. He took it out with emotion that was even more natural than the one he'd practiced in the airport bathroom, and it was overflowing with masculine charm. Sayo.
Yes.
Nada. Let's get married.
Yes.
Please take this ring and put it on your finger.
Yes, George's son.
That ring, which glistened divinely even in the dim light of the arbor. Exactly. Passed from George's hand to Shannon's finger. Of course, Shannon had already decided which finger to put it on. I swear to resolutely stand against any fate that may attempt to stand in the way of our future. George proclaimed that he would reveal their engagement to the entire family on the next day. my parents might criticize this marriage. You bet. The middle finger. However, I will not let them stop us. I'm going to inform them of our engagement, not ask for their permission. If mother says that she won't allow our marriage, I plan to have myself disinherited, oh good lord, and will then leave this family together. I have been prepared for that since long ago. I swear once again to resolutely stand against all fates that get in the way of our future. George had said it aloud, so Shannon said the same thing.
Me too. I swear to stand against all fates that get in the way of our future, George son. Peddler, when will the crime start?
I've just about had it with this love show. Be quiet and watch.
Sure, fine.
I'd hate to yawn and let some spectacular bit of foreshadowing slip by. Do you have no love?
Are there any mystery novels that accept love as proof? No, there aren't.
Erika laughed coldly and stared down at the two on the game board. Bella watched her quietly. Erika thought she felt a touch of pity in his gaze, and she averted her eyes uncomfortably.
I do understand, more or less. Love can at least become a motive for murder. I can interpret the scene beneath the arbor to represent a possible motive for the crime if their engagement is somehow impeded. Then again, no matter how much people talk of love with words that aren't read, it's all just an illusion.
That's sad. So you could never love a human without proof given to you by a witch.
Please put an end to this frivolous love talk. I'm your enemy, not a friend to whom you can talk about love just for the hell of it. I can't understand you at all right now. What on earth did you figure out? Weren't you and Beato always insulting and trying to kill each other? What kind of truth could you have reached to make you change your emotions regarding her? Please don't tell me that feelings of true love have sprouted from your murderous rivalry, or anything like that, okay?
Lady Erika, let us have him continue the game's progression. Boring love scenes such as this are best finished quickly.
You've got a point there. Sorry for butting in. Come on, let's move on.
I kind of feel like Glenner really is not a fan of Erika. I just is by her side because it's her orders.
It's Shannon. I've come back.
Indeed. Indeed you have. I can see that. I have eyes. The log for today is not even filled out.
Yes.
I don't know. I just found it funny that he said indeed. It's just such a weird way to respond to that. I have returned. Indeed. That's like kind of like a very passive aggressive way of saying took you long enough or something.
I'll do that right away. Kanon-kun, thanks for keeping an eye out while I was gone.
Yeah, can I put the eye back in now? Sorry. That was a pretty long break. Kanon had already noticed. There was a silvery glint coming from the ring finger on Shannon's left hand. Then I will retire. Please do not hesitate to wake me if anything occurs.
Good night, Genji-sama.
Good night, Genji-sama. Genji disappeared after the waiting room. After that, only Shannon and Kanon remained.
Thanks for giving me some time. I'll stay here for the rest so you can go to sleep now.
So it's my turn next.
Yeah. Sorry, but we aren't going to lose.
And I won't lose either.
Even though you've always been a coward and let Milady take the lead until now?
Wasn't it you who taught me, Ne-san?
What did I teach you?
The past is immaterial when it comes to love. The present is all that matters. If that's true, then I think my present is in no way inferior to yours, Ne-san. Shannon and Kanon glared at each other with serious eyes. That period of tension vanished when Shannon chuckled.
Yeah, that's good. You and Milady have to give it your all. If you do end up together, make sure you build up a relationship wonderful enough that the rest of us can cheer you on with all our hearts.
Well, you do have a huge lead on me.
There's no helping that. That's what you get for your cowardice before now.
I know. That is my sin. Shannon and Kanon fished around in their pockets and drew out two small things that glittered gold. They looked like the left and right wings of a gold butterfly.
We are furniture. In order to become human and receive the miracle that allows us to love, we must rely on a miracle of magic once again.
To think that her brooch would actually prove useful.
It's the only magic within our reach.
It was the golden butterfly brooch, which Beatrice had once given to Shannon in the hopes of creating love between her and George. Shannon then gave it to Kanon, but he let his emotions get a hold of him and crushed it into pieces, so when the two wings they held were brought together, it would regain the form of a beautiful butterfly. Then I'll be back soon. After all, they have asked me to play cards with them.
Yeah, good luck. I'm sure my lady will be happy.
It's a bit embarrassing. Enjoy that feeling. Kanon left the servant room. He went to go see Jessica and tell her what he had determined to do. Shannon quietly watched him go. The fragment of the brooch and the engagement ring let off a gold and silver glint.
That takes me back. That's something I gave Shannon, if I recall. I always wondered if they lost it after Kanon stepped on it, but it seems they still had it the whole time. That's the golden butterfly brooch, isn't it? I read about the magical brooch that can save a love relationship in Feathery-Zan's book.
That had been the first time that Beatrice, Witch of the Forest, had interacted with a human and given them her power. Bit by bit, she had transformed from a mere ghost to the ruler of the mansion at night, and by making the servants believe in her, she had wiped away the anti-magic power. And then it eventually became possible for her to appear openly in front of Shannon, whose magic resistance had grown particularly low, and who had begun to believe in the existence of Beatrice. To Beato, who had been unable to interact with anyone for many years, this conversation with Shannon must have been especially fun.
That's why I generously gave her the butterfly brooch. I was in quite a good mood. It is no common thing for a heartless witch such as myself to be so gracious. But it's wonderful. You brought a pair of future lovers together. Of course, I did not do it to pamper them. It was in exchange for smashing that hateful spirit mirror that had repressed my magical powers. Thanks to that, I was able to regain much of my power all in one go. But that one night, purple lightning smashed the shrine. Those of the surrounding islands called it an evil omen. Oh, now that I think of it, that must have been a prelude to Beatrice's resurrection.
Kumasawa had the rest of the night off, so she had let Erika talk her into drinking a bit, and was chatting about the legend of Akujikishima and Beatrice in a happy, tipsy mood. Erika would nod from time to time, but besides this, she listened in complete silence. She wasn't actually taking notes, but she was gathering information on the whiteboard inside her head. Then she frowned as though noticing something out of place and held up her hand.
Wait a second.
Yes?
That shrine was built by a traveling Shugenja monk to seal up the evil spirits of Akujikishima. Isn't that right? Yes, that is correct. It was one who possessed a vast supernatural power, and who placed that power within the mirror and placed it within the shrine as a sacred mirror to seal the evil spirits. Something feels off about that. Why would a shrine to seal the evil spirits of Akujikishima also seal Beatrice? Well, that's because the sacred mirror is spiritual power. I see. So it's this really convenient sacred mirror that works on both evil spirits from the east and witches from the west? Got it. I'm still not satisfied, but I'll back off there for now. What I don't understand is why Beatrice can't stand spider webs.
According to the legend, the evil spirits of Akujikishima despised spider webs, so they were apparently used as wards against evil in the surrounding islands. In fact, spiders are a useful bug. There's nothing strange about the fact that island farmers had treasured them. It's very possible that they were then tied to the story of evil spirits and became known as charms against evil. Aren't spiders not bugs? Leading to a tradition of people treating this useful bug with care through the generations.
But that's just a legend of Akujikishima. The origins of the legend of the witch Beatrice came after Ushinomiya Kinzo moved to this island, when rumors sprouted about the mysterious legend of the gold, as well as the witch mistress who gave it to him. In other words, the evil spirits of Akujikishima and the golden witch Beatrice were originally completely different things, and yet the stories treat them like they're the same. Well, now,
the evil spirits. Yeah, I think that's a typical thing in Japanese, that they are, I think they are kind of... I did read about that so one day, because it pops up so often during translation that it is included in the Japanese term, but the Japanese term is always translated as insects or bugs, where it is not correct anymore to include spiders. I don't remember anymore, but I think it was included in Japanese. Well, there's something for you to research. The evil spirits of Akujikishima couldn't stand spiderwebs, so neither could Beatrice. That sort of reasoning has been applied all over the place. When it was pointed out that this was strange, Kumasawa was lost for an answer. The doorknob to Kinzo-san's study has a scorpion magic circle drawn on it, which represents a charm against evil and Western sorcery. That's why the Western witch Beatrice can't touch it. I can understand that part. But there's no reason for Beatrice to dislike spiderwebs. I don't remember spiderwebs ever being included among things witches can't stand. On the contrary, wouldn't spiders be the friends and minions of a witch? Well, in my opinion, those two legends about the evil spirits of Akujikishima and the witch Beatrice have been mixed together a little. In fact, maybe they've been fully fused together as one. The legend of Akujikishima is a fairy tale created by fishermen fearful of reefs in the Rokkenjima area. However, there was no visual image to go along with those evil spirits. Were they people or monsters or ghosts without legs? There's no mental picture of them. People are bad at imagining things without visuals. That's when the legend of the witch called Beatrice came in. A witch is a lot easier to picture than evil spirits, and on top of that, Kinzo-san had a portrait of Beatrice drawn and displayed. In other words, the lack of a visual image, which was the one weak point in the legend of Akujikishima, was finally completed. Since then, perhaps the two legends have been mixed together. I think if you keep talking like that, Kumasawa will only be able to say, well. See?
Well, I wonder. It is a bit confusing for an old lady such as myself.
Kumasawa laughed to smooth it over, wiping away a cold sweat. She might have seemed confused, but she actually did understand what Erika was saying. In truth, she had been vaguely aware about the legend of Akujikishima, which had been around before Ushiromiya Kinzo had come to Rokkenjima, and the legend of the Golden Witch, the story of the woman who had given Kinzo a vast quantity of gold, had both transformed. She didn't want to acknowledge it, but she knew. The setting where Beatrice hated the spirit mirror and spiderwebs. This had been based on the ancient legend of Akujikishima. The evil spirits part of that legend had just been replaced by the witch of the portrait.
So, if there really was someone claiming to be the Golden Witch Beatrice, I'd really like to ask her whether she actually does hate spiderwebs or not. What happens when she touches them? It is said that witches and their minions receive burns when they touch spiderwebs, so that is probably what would happen, I suppose. Huh, that's not bad. A splendid witch trial. If the spiderweb touches her and she gets burned, then she's an evil spirit, not a witch. And if nothing happens, then it proves she's just a human. In other words, whether she's burned or not, it will prove that the Golden Witch doesn't exist. The legend of the witch is nothing more than the legend of Akujikishima reborn with a new face on it. Well, simply by the existence of the legend itself, this level of reasoning is possible for...
Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay, we get it.
What do you think, everyone?
Though only the two of them were in the lounge, Erika faced in the direction an invisible audience would have been. And shrugged. And just as Erika imagined, the targets of her comments actually were there, listening in.
Spiderwebs? They burn if you touch them.
When Beato the Elder snapped her fingers, a graceful silver spider slipped down from the ceiling, hanging by a transparent thread. Afterwards, only a single silver strand remained. Timidly, Beato stretched her finger out towards the spider's string, then she touched it.
I'm fine. You are? Huh?
Beato the Elder lifted up a white pale finger, and after showing it to her little sister, she traced the silver string with it. There was a stench like a single hair being burned. Once again she held her finger up in front of Beato, who was stunned. There was a thin burn line, as though someone had traced across it with a razor.
What's going on? That's what I would like to know. Why are you unharmed? I don't know. What I don't understand is why you do get burned by touching a spider web. I do not know. It has always been like that since I first gained consciousness. Then are you...
Beato hesitated. However, her question was clear.
No, I am not one of the evil spirits of Akujikishima. I am Beatrice, ruler of Rokkenjima's night. Even I do not know why I have the same weaknesses as this island's evil spirits of old. Are spiderwebs the only thing you can handle? As this Erika person said, I cannot touch the doorknob to Kinzo's study. That scorpion magic circle burns me. For me, trying to open the door to that study is like trying to pick a red-hot horseshoe out of a fire. What about you? Huh? Scorpion magic circles, you mean?
The older sister snapped her fingers again. When she did, the surrounding scene bent and twisted, and they had suddenly moved to the place in front of Kinzo's study, and there was the doorknob engraved with the scorpion magic circle. Those who research magic must have a refuge sealed off from both human and spiritual disturbances. It's no surprise that Kinzo chose to seal off his study and place a charm such as this here. And unfortunately, that affects me as well. She gently grasped the doorknob. As she did, a violent burning sound, unbelievably stronger than the one caused by the spider web, rang out.
Onesama, are you okay? Your hand, ah!
Her hand had been horribly burned, and Beatrice couldn't help but avert her eyes.
Fear not, this scratch will heal quickly.
Apparently it would heal by itself if left alone. The older sister seemed to heal at an inhuman rate.
However, it seems that you can handle it just fine.
She timidly poked the doorknob. Nothing happened. Slowly she touched it with her entire palm, but she felt nothing but a pleasantly cool sensation.
Strange. Though you are my double, you are different from me in several ways. While I might be able to touch the doorknob, if I ever get burned like you did, I don't think I'd heal that easily. It's as though you're a normal human. Yes. Even if I find it a little hard to believe that I'm a witch, I can't use magic like you. Even I find it a little hard to believe that I'm a witch. I can't use magic like you, and I can't get strange burns or heal from them later. Father believed that I was a great witch reborn, but I cannot believe that. Who are you? I am Beatrice. I was born for Father's sake. And you, Onesama? I am also Beatrice. I used magic to give Kinzo gold, and later became a soul and the formless witch that haunts this island. Just who on earth are we? Unlike me, you seem to be a being in possession of a body. Huh? Really? Yes, I thought of it while listening to that Erika person. I am a witch who can use magic but has no body, and you are a witch who has a body but can use no magic. Eventually, perhaps we will become one, each filling in what the other lacks to form the true complete Beatrice.
It seemed to make sense. Both of the Beatrices were missing something. If they became one, then they would surely be very close to the Beatrice that Bella desired.
Do you want to try?
Huh?
Hold out your hand.
The older sister slowly raised her palm and held it out before Beato. The large burn from a second ago really had started to heal already.
It may be possible for us to become one. I want to know as well. By becoming one with you, I want to learn about my future self.
Beato also raised her hand slowly, and the two hands touched. But nothing happened. Perhaps this meant that while they were fated to become one eventually, that time had not yet come.
For me, being burned by spiderwebs is perfectly normal. However, you didn't even know about it. In the same way, you say that the reason you were born was for your father's sake. Apparently that father is Oshidomiya Bello. I know him as a rare guest who only comes a few times a year, but I cannot understand what connection you and I have with such an infrequent visitor. Surely we must learn more about each other. Yeah, you're right. I get the feeling that learning about each other will lead us to something very important. On the other side lies the single future Beatrice. No, it may be more correct to call her the true form we are meant to possess.
With their hands still joined, the two Beatrices swore to fill in the parts the other lacked and regain their single form. Bit by bit, Beato was walking down the path that led to the former Beatrice. Almost 11 o'clock.